If tomorrow all the things were gone I worked for all my life, I had to start again with just my children and my wife. I thank my God above for living here today. The flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died and gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Hi, I'm Allison Salinas. Welcome to Citizen Watch, where your voice matters. So I've been talking about this all week long, guys. I'm super, super excited. I've been hinting and maybe two people in my entire connection of people know that this is going to happen tonight. And I made him, I made him be quiet until now. So I'm so excited, guys. Citizen Watch tonight. We've talked about a bombshell that we are going to drop. And it's, if you know me, I hate secrets and I hate holding it, but I don't have to hold anymore. So without further ado, please welcome NIck Fuentes from America First Foundation. And let me pull him up. There you go. Hi, Nick. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing great. How are you?
Awesome. I'm great. So everybody meet Nick. He is from America First Foundation, so I'm super excited. We've got, wow, the comments are flying. People love you, Nick. So I'll put some stuff up. So yeah, Nick Fuentes is on my podcast. I'm super stoked. So he's here for a reason, guys. So we're gonna get into that later in the show, and we're gonna talk about it. I'm gonna make you wait just a little bit longer. Let me fix my screen to drop this bombshell. But so we're gonna hear about who Nick is, what he does, and where his passion drives from. Take it away, Nick.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm stoked to be with you, and we're very excited for our upcoming event on Saturday. I'm not sure if that's the bombshell you're referring to. Sure. So, yeah. Well, I found out about you earlier this week. I think we share passion against this vaccine mandate, which is happening right now in the United States. And this is something that I've been talking about on my show for really the past year. And I know that, I don't know how much you know about me or my background, but I've done a show called America First for close to 5 years now. I actually got started when I was 18 years old, and I was at college in Boston University. And originally I started with Brightside Broadcasting Network, which, if you're familiar with them, they used to do all the Trump rallies back in the 2016 and 2020 election. And so they brought me on, I think it was around February 2017. Once the election ended, they wanted to bring on a whole slate of original programming, and they brought on a lot of familiar faces who you might have heard of: Mike Cernovich, Bill Mitchell, Cassie Dillon, Will Nardi, a few others. And they brought me on to do a show as well. And at the time, I was actually an unknown. All the people that they brought on had an internet profile, and they were well known for conservative punditry. But I was just a college student. But so I started the show with them. I began to do it independently in August 2017. I've done it now for 4 years. And the name of the show is America First, because, what drives my politics, I am a Christian, I am a conservative, and I've always been that way. But I think what Trump did in 2016 was open a lot of people's eyes to maybe the real sort of conflict in the country, which isn't necessarily always between conservatives and liberals or Republicans and Democrats, but between people that are nationalists and love America and want to preserve America and put the American people's interest first, and people that reject America. They don't believe in nations at all. They want to replace America or move beyond America, and they don't even like it. And I think we could call those people globalists. I like that Trump used that terminology back in 2016. So that's what's driven me for the past 5 years or so. And really, just this past year, has probably been the most eventful year that I've been doing this, between the onset, of course, of the COVID pandemic, the BLM riots, the election fraud in 2020, and now the vaccine mandate. I think now more than ever, this issue, this question of America first or globalism is being forced on people, and people are having to take sides. So I think that's time for patriots like you and I and everybody around the country to take a stand for American sovereignty and for Americans first.
Amen to that, definitely. So, wow, you're blowing up my feed, Nick. Holy cow. So Nick does a podcast, right? Or a show, or is it every night? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, it's Monday through Friday. It's every weeknight at 8 o'clock. And I actually do it on my own platform. So you're lucky. You're still on YouTube. Although, you know, fingers crossed, knock on wood, I hope you get to stay on YouTube, because that's a good thing. You know, you want to be on YouTube. But I got banned on YouTube. I got hit with the big ban wave back last year. I migrated over to a different platform called D Live. I was there for about a year. I got banned off of that at the beginning of this year. And so I had to go back with my developers and build a completely independent, censorship-proof platform. And that's called AmericaFirst.live. So that's where I do my show now.
Awesome. Well, I got to watch one of yours. I was supposed to watch it when you announced the rally, but I ended up spending family time with my family and forgot, and then woke up and said, oh no, I forgot Nick's show. And then I watched it, and it was a great, like, it was like a good little bombshell. So we're going to drop the bombshell, guys. I can't hold it anymore. So I know Nick talked a little bit about it, but America First Foundation with Nick Fuentes and his team, his people, he is bringing people to this rally. He has been speaking of this rally for a while now. We've been in works talking with each other, I've talked with his team, and they're not only joining us, but they are pretty much co-sponsoring the event. They're helping with the flags. They're helping with the flagpoles. Nick's going to speak. I can't wait to hear him. It's minds and people like this that we have to bring together for this. And we have to set aside differences. This isn't about Republican or Democrat or left or right. It's about good Christian people, good people that want their state back. They want their freedoms back. They want, the wholesomeness of the way we know how to live, and that the way we were brought up to live. So that's important. So Nick Fuentes has graciously stepped on board with myself and my campaign team, although it is not a Salinas for Senate campaign. I've said that 1,000 times, and I mean it. This is for unity and freedom only. This is for the state of Illinois to come together, to rally together for once and for all, to show J.B. Pritzker that we're done, to show Joe Biden we're done. And with Nick's help and his team's help, we're not going to make this statewide, guys. We're going to make this national. We are going to show other states that Illinois is done playing. We are absolutely done. So I want to thank you for coming to the rally and joining forces. And I can't wait to it was already big. It even surprised me. I knew when I put the name in the title, 1776 rally, I knew it would get people's attention, get them riled up, get them going. So that's awesome. But Nick jumped in and he launched it on his end. We're launching it on our end tonight. We're super excited. So, tell us a little bit about the people you're bringing. We know what everybody believes in, but they're the younger generation. They're the ones that this impacts the most, correct?
Yes, absolutely. And, it's our pleasure to join you. And thank you so much for being gracious enough to allow us to participate. We saw your event on Facebook, and the turnout was amazing. And we saw you guys were on top of it. We had been thinking about doing something like this for some time. Actually, we got the idea when Biden came out a couple of weeks ago and announced the new mandate for the federal workers, contractors, private companies over 100 employees. And we saw you guys and we said, nobody else is doing this in the country. I don't see a lot of pushback against the vaccine mandate, at least not that's organized. And I don't see a lot of political mobilization on this issue because a lot of people are afraid. So I commend you for your courage on this, and we're happy to be a part of it. And so on the foundation in particular, so I actually started this nonprofit with some other America First activists about a year ago. It was last May, actually, that we launched this. And I love what you said about how it's not about Republicans and Democrats. It's about good Christians taking our country back, because that's exactly it. This is it's not a partisan organization. It is a nonprofit. And the whole purpose of the organization is to basically reestablish these America First priorities in politics, and I think both Democrats and Republicans are not really living up to that, especially these days with Donald Trump out of office. And so our main issues that we're concerned about is we're concerned about immigration, tech censorship, election integrity, COVID vaccine mandates. And we actually cover a whole host of other issues, including, we're not interventionist and we're against free trade and things of that nature. But back to your original question about the young people, you're absolutely right. It is young people that are the most affected by these things. It's not to say that we're not all affected, because we absolutely are.
Right.
Everybody pays taxes, and this vaccine mandate applies to everybody. And particularly actually for older people, it'll probably affect their health care more than the younger people. Younger people are healthier. It's older people that when they start rationing care, and as they mandate now the booster shot for elderly populations, at-risk populations, specifically for this, at least in the short term, they might be affected more. But for the young people, you're seeing an all-out war on really babies and children. And this is something I talked about even during a speech at Stop the Steal last year. I think I did a speech back in Phoenix, and I laid out the full case. Basically, from the time a child is conceived until they graduate from college, they're under assault, because it's abortion in the womb. And then once they're born, then it's vaccines. Now, I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor. I don't have a strong position on this, but there's some people that say that the vaccines they get when they're born, it's questionable whether there's risks or whether it provides real immunity or anything. But you've got that. Then you've got now this agenda for transgender youth, where children are being forcibly chemically castrated or put on hormone puberty blockers. There's a story in Texas about James Younger, who is his 7-year-old boy whose parents are going through a divorce. He says he's a boy, but the wife, who's deranged and liberal, wants to transition him to being a girl. So you've got that going on. You've got the brainwashing in the schools and the media. Every kid has a smartphone now, being poisoned through social media. What they want ultimately is control of your kids. Kids are born. They want them now in universal childcare and daycare. They want them in preschool. They want them in public school until they're 18. And now they want them in universal public college, at least a community college. Some say they want 4-year college, where they'll be brainwashed even further. And so basically from the time they're born until they graduate, and then even, let's be honest, basically it's cradle to grave. But for children, it's from the time they're born all the way until they're full-blown adults that they're at war with the system. The establishment is mandating chemical poison in their bodies with all kinds of drugs and bad things in the food and in the water. It's brainwashing by the schools and by the entertainment complex. It's a whole host of terrible stuff. And this is why I say, it's not even so much about me. Maybe you feel the same way. It really is about the future. It's just like the founding fathers said, it's for ourselves and for our posterity. That's really the critical thing here. And what this, and just to summarize, I don't want to ramble on too much, but that's what is so important about this vaccine mandate is it's not even necessarily just about the vaccine itself or about this mandate. It's about the whole system that they're creating, which is a biometric, tyrannical system where all they have to do is put in place these QR code scanners, national database for a vaccine, and that's the scope of it for now. If you're not vaccinated, you can't fly in a plane, go to a restaurant, etc. Yep. But what happens in 5 years when they say, well, if you vote for Donald Trump, you can't board a plane. If you post the wrong thing on the internet, you can't go to a restaurant. It's about this compliance system, this totalitarian compliance system that's being built with the pretext of the coronavirus and the vaccine. Now, don't get me wrong, I oppose the vaccine in itself, but the far bigger picture is what this is going to look like, generations from this point on, once this compliance system is put into place. I don't think they're going to disassemble that. Milton Friedman had an old saying, there's nothing as permanent as a temporary government program. I think that's what we're seeing right here. So it is about the children, and you're right. They're the ones that have the most to lose here.
They really do. And wow, I have to hand it to you, Nick. I've done podcasts for a while now. I filed in January and I started probably 6 months after that. And I think you have the most popular comments since I've done them. So I get a lot of, and I do different ones, and, it's interesting. So part of my show is where your voice matters. And that means everybody. And, when I hear kids, 13-year-olds come up to me and say, I feel like nobody's listening. And then you hand them a mic and they got a whole lot to say. I've seen some pretty America First kids, that really stand out and, really just they're absolutely fed up and they're just not, they're bucking back. And, we've been called the silent majority for way too long. And honestly, I've said it before, I'll say it again, and I'll say it in the future. If we're the silent majority, it's because we were silent to begin with. It's about stepping up. It's about people like, myself. I'm just your average everyday housewife. I run my own business, but, I'm married, I got kids, I'm a grandma, but I'm tired of it. When JB Pritzker took away graduation, I got a team of 8 people, 8 complete strangers, built a team, went to Springfield and gave it back. I had a stage, we had chairs, we had porta potties, we had, certificates printed out. We did the whole 9 yards. And that's all it takes is for us to stand up and do something about it. And that's part of what this rally is about. That, it's everybody once and for all coming together. It's no more excuses. Get off your couch, get in your car, go to Springfield October 2nd and stand with the rest of the state. You can hate the person next to you, but you can still stand for unity and freedom. It doesn't matter. If you don't get along, I don't want you to hate anybody, but if you don't get along with someone, you know what I'm saying, is you still got to stand for the same beliefs. And at the end of the day, I think that's what everybody wants. Nobody wants to be run by our government so much that they're teaching kindergartners about different parts of the body that they don't even understand what it is. They're teaching, 8-year-old little girls, well, the first question on someone's homework is, you're white. Tell me why you're privileged. What? No, that's not okay. That absolutely is not okay. And, so a little bit backtracking about this rally, Nick. So we got a lot going on with this rally. We're doing a tribute to the soldiers in in Kabul that were mercilessly put to death pretty much. We're going to do that. We've got some performers coming out, people that want to sing. We've got a couple good songs coming. I think I'm still working with Nick's team about who else is coming. I don't know who we're going to get or what ideas you guys have. So we're going to have, flags in the back. I want an American First flag. I want an American flag. I want a Don't Tread on Me flag. I'd love to have a Marine flag. So if anybody's got one, bring one. All branches of the military are welcome. We have a bunch of people, questioning, sending me messages. Hey, what can I bring? Bring your flags, bring your signs, bring your car all decorated up, your bike all decorated up. We have turned in the permit to block off the roads. If I'm correct, Nick, we're working on an events permit after that to get that done. So we're going to give, no reason for this to be shut down, no reason for this not to happen. We're coming with a vengeance and God in our hearts. And, we got to stand up because if we don't, who else will?
That's right.
So tell me a little bit about, you're going to speak at this event, and I know what you believe in and where you stand, but what are your key issues that you're going to focus on at the rally?
The key issue is going to be the vax mandate. I think that is, the thing about our silent majority is that people like you and I think everybody else that is going to attend this rally, I don't think we would be there if it wasn't a necessity, in the sense that unlike liberals, unlike the government, unlike the tyrants in the country, we want to just live our lives. That's the thing about conservatives is they want to do everything the right way. They want to, go to school, get a good job, start a family, provide for the family, and just live a normal, healthy, decent life. It's that the government has declared war on us and we are under attack.
Absolutely.
As you described, it's the anti-white stuff in education. It's this predatory sexual agenda that the left is pushing on kids. And I think the real declaration of war against us was this vaccine mandate, which is ongoing. Actually, it's not even like one, we could point to a few key moments, but this is something that's been growing for a long time now. I think really ever since the pandemic started, it was probably headed ultimately in this direction. I know I was covering on my show from the very beginning when the vaccine first began to be administered and rolled out back in December of last year. I was saying that this is going to end in a vaccine mandate. They're saying that you should get it now. They're going to start by encouraging. Then they'll start by offering some kind of positive incentive. I said, and probably before the end of the year, they're going to start to tell people you either are going to get it or you're going to be banned from everything, fined, put in jail, something like that. And so I think the focus of my speech and what I'll talk about is the vaccine mandate and really the significance of this. And I laid this out on my show too the other week. What a lot of people don't realize is, just exactly the scope and the gravity of what they're talking about, what this entails. Because a lot of people, I think, are getting the vaccine because they just don't want the hassle. Most normal people, your average person, if they're told get the vaccine or get fired, they're going to say, big deal. I'll get the vaccine. I'll get two doses. Maybe I'll get a little bit sick, but it's probably fine. And then I'll just get back to work. A lot of people think they've got this mentality of just get it over with. And what I want to lay out in my speech and what I've been trying to tell people about is that really gets to the heart of the matter. There is no just getting it over with because it's never going to be over. What they're recommending right now, I'll cover this on my show tonight. CDC just said booster shots are okay for 65 and up, high-risk populations, and people with an occupational risk to COVID. That's like virtually everybody. If you work like a service job, and this is a service economy, that's an occupational risk for COVID. If you work in a school, occupational risk. So they're telling people booster shots. In Israel, they're the first country to mandate the booster shot. 80% of the population is double vaxxed with Pfizer. Now they've got a vaccine passport that expires after 6 months, and you have to go and get a booster shot to renew it. Renew your, what they call the green passport, your green, I forget the exact name of it, but to go back out into society. And so think of it. If you're already skeptical about the efficacy or the safety of the vaccine, you're getting 2 huge doses of mRNA, which turns your cells into factories that make spike proteins, which are poisonous. That's what it means to be fully vaccinated. Now we're talking about a system where you're getting injected with massive amounts of genetic material every 6 months in perpetuity. And they're saying, some say that we'll have to live with COVID forever. So this could be indefinitely. Some are saying it could be 10 to 15 years before this is resolved. But so on the long end of it, it's forever. At the short end of it, it's a decade or 2. Every 6 months getting injected with poison, and your participation in society is contingent on this. And what's more is, it would be one thing if, and I think it still would be a pretty egregious violation of our freedom of conscience and our bodily autonomy just with the booster shots. But they're talking about more. It's the social distancing, and it's still masks. They're talking about prescribing a pill now. If you get COVID, you take the shots and a pill. And then what else are they going to add to it? Right. It's bigger than COVID. It's about a compliance system where in the future, there'll be a state or a federal database about vaccine compliance. This is something that is going to be in a machine. It'll be on a console in front of every bar, restaurant, airport, bus terminal, train station, every public place. You'll have to scan your QR code that'll be assigned to you. There'll be a barcode, QR code on your operating system on your phone or an ID card. And all this information will be available, I'm sure, to law enforcement. It'll be available to private companies. What this entails is like digital ID. It's like a compliance system all based on digital ID where they track everything you do, see everything you do. They can close everything off to you at the click of a button based on compliance. For now, that's the vaccine. In the future, that could be anything. And this is information which is shared with all the powers that be. What it entails ultimately is the complete end of human freedom in America. Right. And that's what you see in Australia. So that's going to be the main point of my speech. And it's about, look, people have got to take a stand now. There's no getting it over with. Well, I'll just get 1 dose and then it'll be okay. It's like, at what point are people going to say, it's worth losing something to take a stand in order to not live in this dystopian, totalitarian future where we're all slaves. People have to take a stand now. So that'll be the call to action.
Awesome. Well, wow. So you guys got a nice surprise coming October 2nd to hear this live. So our goal is this, and we will go through all the questions. You have a ton of questions to answer, Nick. So we will do that at the end. I usually leave the last 5 minutes or so, which we're working on that now. So I know Nick's got a show tonight, so we have to cut this short, but it'll be right on time. So it won't be short. We're not losing anything. But so October 2nd, 1 to 4, Springfield, Illinois. Be at the Capitol, guys. We have to stand up for our freedoms. We have to stand up for our kids and our grandkids. We have to fight against these mandates, against this tyranny, against the government. I'm running for office, and I have to say we have to stand up against the government. So, we have to put real people in office, and we have to be careful who we vote in. So I'm going to jump to questions, Nick, because I want to give people time that, so Nick, okay, I will show, I think you can see this.
Yes.
What inspired you to help save our great nation?
It's a good question. I could give a really, really long answer to that, because why else would somebody like me do this for 5 years? I know, it's difficult doing this political activism stuff, and there's a lot that animates me, but honestly, I took a lot for granted, I think, when I was a kid. I grew up in a nice suburb. My parents are married. They're Catholic, strong Christian values. And, I grew up in a suburb outside of Chicago called LaGrange Park. And it's like the perfect Americana. It's Little League baseball. It's hot dogs. It's everything you like. And I took a lot of that for granted when I was younger. I mean, I'm still a young guy, but, when I was growing up and I went to college on the East Coast, and it was like, you could see a nation in transition demographically. It's one of the most liberal cities in America, one of the most educated, meaning most people have gone to university, which doesn't always necessarily mean the smartest or even necessarily the most educated. It's a lot of liberal yuppie types and lots of migration, lots of nonsense. And so when I was over there, I really saw a contrast between where I grew up and where I was living now. And I really got this renewed appreciation for everything that I had. And I thought, and I want to, if I decide to have kids, which I think I will, if I have kids, if I have a family, I want to raise them in a country like that. I want them to grow up in the kind of neighborhood that I grew up in and that my parents lived in and so on. And so, I think we really take a lot for granted in America, and specifically in certain parts of America. And a lot of that is under attack and going away. So that's when I started the show. And I said, there's real urgency here. And no one's coming to help us. We have to do it ourselves. So I just took a stand. I started doing my show, telling the truth. It's got me a lot of flack. A lot of people, as you pointed out, say some nasty things about me. But, that's okay, because we have God on our side. We're doing the right thing. And ultimately, that's what we have to answer for. And that's what matters. So in short, that's what inspired me to take action.
Awesome. These are rolling up, so I have to find them again. They are flying. Okay, so Nick, who is your political inspiration?
Donald Trump. That's an easy one.
Yay!
He's the greatest.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So here's one. Where do you get your ideas from?
That's actually an old Norm Macdonald joke. I don't know if you're familiar with that one, but I come up with my ideas myself, but that's a good one.
Awesome. So we're trying to fly through this. Here you go. What keeps you going after all the persecution and setbacks you have faced? Good question.
That is a good question. I really do believe it's like God's hand pushing me. Maybe that sounds a certain way, but I feel like, I've been through a lot. I mean, there are people that have been through a lot too, and for a lot longer than me. I've known people that have been in this movement for decades, but they've really come down on me. I don't know if you know the full scope of it, but I'm banned from like literally everything. I'm on a no-fly list. FBI's investigating me. It's like they really put me through hell. But honestly, I've never really looked back. I'm never really one of these people that thought that giving up was an option. I basically decided from day one, I'm going to push until I can't anymore. And it's as simple as that. So I don't know if you could call that a love for goodness, a love for God, country, something like that. But it's just pure passion, I guess.
Right. Absolutely. Well, I think I know the answer, but what's your opinion about on the Biden booster shot?
Totally against, very against. I'm not even in favor of the original, the first
Yeah,
dose.
not a fan of any of it. Let's see. Okay, here's one. So can you see the questions?
Yes.
Oh, I'll just let you read them. I'm not reading them to you.
Sure. Yeah. As a Gen Xer, what can we do to reach the youth? It's a good question. I would say that when it comes to the youth, you got to keep in mind that they're growing up in a very different world than older people. I'm Generation Z, and I was kind of at the cusp of the millennials and Generation Z. And that was a very meaningful distinction, not as much with boomers and Xers, because the Generation Z came around right around when the internet came around, So I was born in 98, and I really saw the world before. I mean, the internet was around, but before widespread adoption of computers, internet, and even social media. It's really kind of two developments, and this is a huge topic. But yeah, the internet / email come around 80s and 90s. Social media and smartphones is really a separate revolution, which happens around the 2010s. I would say 2010 to 2015. And so I was, as a part of Generation Z, I'm one of the first members of Generation Z, one of the earliest years. I saw the transition from kind of an analog to a digital society, and then transition to a social media society. And I would say that there's this big sort of miscommunication that always happens, or communication breakdown between older generations and younger people, because older generations, they don't speak the same language. The cultural artifacts are so alien between Zoomers and Boomers. I know like Carpe Donktum, he's a popular meme maker who used to be on Twitter, and his memes would consist of taking like space balls and putting Trump's face or Anderson Cooper's face over the characters. And like, that's something that I think a lot of older people from an older generation can respond to, because that's a cultural artifact that resonates with them, older movies and these kind of simple edits. Whereas Generation Z, we came up with video games, social media. And so the kinds of things that we find funny and resonate with us are, just completely different than that. It would be completely outside the experience of older people. Anyway, so there's a really long, it's a very complex topic, but I would just say, for older people, I would say just be patient with the Zoomers, because Generation Z, we do speak a different language. We have a very different sense of humor and everything. But I think just patience and understanding is required on both sides, because there's a big communication divide.
Absolutely. Okay, we're only going to take like one or two more. They're still flying off. I know you got a show to do. So here's your next question.
Okay. Any great books you recommend? I'm a big fan of Bill O'Reilly. Yeah, well, I'm a big fan of Patriots and Pinheads by Bill O'Reilly. It's a very funny book and really a fine political treatise. There's some stuff in there that's a little extreme for me. I consider myself sort of moderate, I guess, in some sense. But Bill O'Reilly, great political mind. It's a shame what they did to him at Fox News. I mean, it wound up being a blessing because we got Tucker Carlson, who's the best on TV.
Absolutely.
But I really respected O'Reilly. But yeah, Pinheads and Patriots, and also Pat Buchanan. He's one of my favorite authors. So I'd probably recommend Suicide of a Superpower, Decline of the West. Those are some good titles by Buchanan.
Absolutely. And last question. I know there's more, but you can always go to the comments.
Okay. So yeah, you can watch my show at americafirst.live, and I'll be jumping on there in just a little bit.
Awesome. So we are over time, but that's okay. That's always a good sign when we're having a great conversation. So October 2nd, 1 to 4, be there, or don't care about your freedoms. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, it's really that simple, guys. We gotta pull this together, and we gotta show them that we're done playing. Illinois, out of all the states, it's one of the states that's being laughed at. It's one of the states that they're going, what are they doing? So we need to show them that, we don't need our government to stand up together. We absolutely do not need them. We can do this on our own. So I want to wish everybody a wonderful Monday night. Thank you, Nick, for coming on. There's more questions down there. If you want to go to my page, all the comments are usually down there. So in case there's questions you might want to, that you missed, that you want to answer, it's up to you. Next
Sure.
Monday night, we let's see, that's going to be right after the rally. So we'll have a recap, and we have another guest. So everybody have a blessed night, and everybody have a great week. See you later.